Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 85 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. First off, thanks for listening to the show, and it's amazing to me that I'm sitting here saying episode 85. I mean, that's pretty cool. So the show today, I've got a letter to read to you. I'm just do some shave of the days. I did a head-to-head this weekend with some soaps that I have on hand, because I do have at this point a pretty good selection between soaps and samples and just all kinds of stuff. So every now and then I'll get something that reminds me of something else, and I'll put them together and I'll throw them out there and do a head-to-head. And so I did that this weekend. And again, a few more shave of the days, and of course all of my shaves of the day have other thoughts thrown in. It's kind of my mind is a weird place, and so I'm inviting you in just for a little preview, if you will. I'm really not this bad in public. I try to contain it. But, I let you in for a little preview. And sometimes when I'm talking about things, well, the things just come to me. So, anyhow, kind of in recognition of the fact that, this is episode 85, and that's a pretty big number. It's, I don't know, it's, for me anyhow, I don't know why that number in particular jumps out at me, but it does. And so at the end, I'm going to talk about, the thoughts on my shaving journey so far, because that was the original intent of this podcast, was to have you come along on my wet shaving journey, on all the things that I learn, on my trials, my tribulations, my experiences with things as evil and painful as the styptic pencil, all the way down to those absolutely glorious, wonderful BBS shaves with no irritation that you throw the aftershave on and feel, nothing, because there is no irritation whatsoever. And you walk out of the day thinking, okay, the world can throw whatever at me because I'm bulletproof at this point. Anyhow, that's the show this week. Let's get on with it. I got a letter from Mark. You could have knocked me over with a feather blade. I haven't had a chance to write to you lately, but my job, my family, and the Easter season has kept me busy. Sometimes I think life is the annoying times between great shaves. One of my favorite razors of all times is the Gillette Tech in its many variations. The Tech is dismissed by many as mild. The truth is, this simple three-piece razor with the cast top plate, the stamped bottom plate, and a variety of handles holds the blade solid and even better than many expensive chrome-plated wonders. With the right technique, you can get an excellent shave. I was told that a company in Egypt still made this razor in much the same way. I purchased a Lord Tech for $8 on Amazon. I was a little skeptical. For one, I had used a Lord blade that came in a sample pack. To say I wasn't impressed would be an understatement. Also, after trying several super speed clones, few came close to the vintage Gillette they were imitating. Well, I received the Lord Tech. It had an aluminum handle and a head that was identical to the vintage Tech. I put an Astra blade in it and gave it a try. I honestly had one of the best shaves I have ever had. I got a BBS shave with no irritation. I don't mean a good shave. I mean a fantastic one. If anyone is looking for a budget razor to start someone off into the wet shaving world, look no further. For the past 3 mornings, I have been getting such great results from an $8 razor, I am completely speechless. Cheap Salsa Bowl regards, Mark. Well, Mark, first off, good job finding the Lord razor on Amazon for $8. Yeah, that is excellent. That is, I'm thinking, piffs and giveaways and things. I mean, that's something that you could afford easily And at that point, it becomes, spend a little bit of money on the brush, like a Samog brush, for example, an $8 razor, and then you have, some income there available to play around with soaps and blades and everything else. That, and of course with a salsa bowl, you have some disposable income, so you can get into the hobby of wet shaving for very little cost. I mean, that is a great find. So thank you for letting us know about that. Now, of course, I must admit that I too, I do not appreciate, let's put it that way, Lord razor blades. So it's good to hear that at least they got the razor part right. Anyhow, Mark, thanks for the letter. Great hearing from you. Hope to hear from you again soon. Have you been over to Sharpologist.com lately? Mantic59 put up a new feature here. And he's titled it Discussions Without Distractions. Honestly, when you are searching around in blogs and Facebook and everything else, and you're just looking at hundreds of posts and trying to find something out. Granted, shave of the days and things like that, they're all nice, but it can be a little bit overwhelming. So Mantic did something that was rather unique. He has pulled all of this information and kind of sorted it out for you into general discussions, razors, straight razors, creams and soaps, shave brushes, etc. And he gets this information from all over the place. 365 Shaves, Badger and Blade, Leisure Guy, Razor and Stone, Reddit, the Shave Den, Shave Nook. It's just all over the place. And what he's done is it really provides a nice, consolidated way to, find stuff, look for stuff. You can search it. It's got a search function so that you can actually find what it is you're looking for in just a few quick clicks. I mean, it's really a good idea, and it is a great boon to the wet shaving community, especially for new folks starting out that quite honestly feel like they're drinking from a fire hose with some of this stuff. I understand that fully. And of course, some of us, myself included, take a lot of this stuff for granted. And, some of the new guys come in and they don't necessarily want to ask questions because they're afraid of getting ridiculed or, kind of shining a light on the fact that they're new guys and don't know this stuff. This is an excellent opportunity to find the information that you're looking for, pretty painlessly, really. I mean, I was exceedingly impressed with it. Anyhow, check out Sharpologist.com because that's some good stuff over there. And of course, Mantic59 is doing this full time, and so any support that we can give him, I'm sure it would be greatly appreciated. And you'll learn a lot over there because he's got a lot to offer. Well, it's another beautiful morning here. A little bit damp. It's been raining all night long, but that's okay. Springtime rains are what makes things, so green. And, I don't know, spring is just a nice time. Everything's alive. The heat hasn't, killed everything off, and it's not hot and humid yet. The bugs are, at a dull roar. It's all good. Speaking of all good, let's talk about the shave of the day. The shave of the day today, I went and, yesterday I used my Samog 830 brush, which hadn't seen just a lot of action here lately. And so, with that in mind, I looked around and I said, hey, I haven't used my little Volfex travel brush, my little Badger brush, in a long time either. So I grabbed it off the shelf and proceeded to whip up an absolutely beautiful lather with Wickham's Super Smooth Spice Trade Soap. Oh, good stuff. I've always enjoyed, I really have, I've always enjoyed the smell of Old Spice. There's there's something that's, well, timeless about it. I mean, there's a bit of nostalgia and all that, but at the same time, it's kind of a timeless scent, to a certain degree. It's kind of like bay rum in that regard. It's been around forever, and it's just you just kind of associate it with well, at least I do, with neat and clean. It just kind of works that way. It's yeah. So anyhow, wonderful, wonderful scent, and although it was interesting, the soap again, being as soft as it is, I think I loaded it in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 strokes on the puck, and even with that, they were light strokes, and even with that, the soap was kind of moving, dislodging, if you will, and moving about in the dish, which attests to the softness of the soap, which is okay. It's not a big deal. It's just something to be aware of. If you attack a Wickham Super Smooth or any soft soap like you would a hard puck, well, things might get a little exciting. You might get a little bit more than, well, what you bargained for. So anyhow, again, in the tradition of mixing it up, which is, well, what I enjoy doing, I then went and whipped out the old gem Damascene. Now, the old gem Damascene is a single-edged razor par excellence. It is a magnificent razor, and in fact, it's one of the, if you will, the gold standards in single-edged razors. If you ever get a chance to get a Damascene, it is well worth it. It shaves a little bit better and a little bit smoother than say the what is it, the 1912s or the 1914s? I think it's 1912s. Anyhow, then the next era of razors that Gem put out. It is probably it's to a certain extent the pinnacle, if you will, of that era's razors, which says a lot. Now, the blade that I used in it was a Gem stainless. Usually I use a PAL carbon steel, but in this case I used a Gem stainless. Now, the nice thing, of course, about the Gem stainless is I don't necessarily have to worry about taking the blade out and drying it off and, making sure it doesn't rust and blah, blah, blah. It just kind of sits there and dries naturally, and life is good. Almost like a modern razor. It's pretty cool. So anyhow, if you've never tried a single-edged razor, you need to try it. It's a little bit different than a double-edged. The angle's a bit different. The head of the single-edged razor is flat, and the old single-edged razors were designed so that flat face of the head would actually rest against your skin, which gives you a very nice angle, very akin to the angle of a straight razor, as you're shaving. So, good stuff. 3-pass shave, used very similar techniques to what I used when I was, last week when I was using the straight razor, and got an excellent, excellent shave. No issues, no cuts, nicks, or anything like that. So, if you, one of the old single-edged razors, they are in fact safety razors. They are not designed to hurt you. They're not as unforgiving is a good word, as a straight razor. And so if you happen to see one, go out and try it. And again, that's what has always amazed me. People make, the mongoose, the cobra, all these things, but they make it for a wider blade. But the old thin single-edged blades are still around, still popular, still work, and quite honestly, the single-edged razors, maybe it's because there's a plethora of single-edged razors out there somewhere that I'm not aware of, and people don't see the need. But anyhow, it was an excellent shave of the day, and finished up with a little bit of a Clubman Pinot, or Pinot Clubman. No, Clubman Pinot. Oh, goodness. I'm here to tell you, after a night of podcasting, getting to bed late, getting everything lined up and all, it's just, Thursdays can be a struggle. But it's okay. Keeps me on my toes. So came down and got ready for work, and off we go to the donut factory. Well, not really, but off we go to the donut factory and start the day and see what life has to offer. And if it's not good enough, well, I'll make it up as I go along, because that's what we do here. Hopefully, you're having a good day too. So today, don't know if I'm on a bend, if you will, to use as many of my different shaving brushes this week as possible. But today I happen to reach for, well, quite honestly, the first. I'm thinking it's the first. Yeah, probably the first halfway decent shaving brush that I ever owned. It was given to me as a gift in a set. It had a track 2 razor and a stand and a little bowl with some soap in it, and then the brush, and it was all a stand. It was a shaving set, and the brush and the track 2 handle were antler. So really nice. So it's got some memory to it. Now, looking at this thing, I think it's badger. I don't know. It has it is some kind of natural fiber. Let's put it that way. It has it's not split on the ends, and over time it has faded, and it has no color left in it at all. It's just I don't know what it is. Like I said, I think it's badger, but it could be cat for all I know. But it doesn't do a bad job. And again, it was the first, and so quite honestly, there was a time back when, before I understood the term wet shaving, that I was using this on occasion, typically on the weekends. And that was a long time ago. You're talking 25, 30 years, somewhere, probably 25 years ago. But I would use this thing on the weekends because, quite honestly, I didn't understand how to make a lather. I didn't understand multiple pass shaves. I didn't understand anything about what I was doing. I really didn't. It was an attempt surrounded by complete ignorance. But at the same time, it didn't do a bad job. In fact, I still have the everything else. I still have the handle. I've gone through the soap a couple of times. I've used up a couple of pucks of soap. But of course, back then it was like, well, you really couldn't get any, decent soap. It's just, it was what it was. It was but it was kind of an event or something to do that was, mysterious and traditional, if you will, even back then, 25 years ago. So, I then kind of faded, the usage of those devices just kind of faded into the sunset, and it sat on the counter as a display more than anything else, and really didn't see much use. Well, until I came back and discovered or rediscovered what the heck wet shaving really was, and that the rest is history, I guess, is what they would say. So anyhow, this morning, used my old antler handle brush and some Wickham's Super Smooth Spice Trade. Again, beautiful scent. Whipped up a very nice lather in the old salsa bowl and threw the single-edged damascene to skin and proceeded to have an absolutely lovely shave. So when I posted that shave of the day this morning, it was with a little bit of acronym soup, because I posted SEBBS shave of the day, or SOTD. Even thinking about it, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. So, SE being single-edged and BBS being baby butt smooth, and then SOTD being shave of the day. So, a little bit of acronym soup there, and luckily, it's curious. I work in an industry and for a company that has, well, oh my gosh, they've got 3-letter acronym disease, and it is just rather amazing. We call things all kinds of stuff, and it's just, it gets tiring after a while. And I'm happy to say that for the most part, that the wet shaving community does not suffer from 3-letter acronym or 2-letter acronym anyhow disease. At least not as much as some. So it's very tolerable, and I upon reflection, I was thinking, I rather enjoy that. Things are a little bit more straightforward, as it were. So that's a good thing. Anyhow, the Gem Damascene, of course, is an absolutely marvelous razor of vintage time period from back in the day, the early 1900s time period. It's 1920s, 30s, thereabouts. Maybe a little bit earlier. Heck, I actually don't know off the top of my head, anyhow, when the Damascene was created and put out there on the market. But the thing is that it is an absolutely excellent design, and it does a very nice job. Now, the thing that I have to watch for is that I find myself, especially on the first pass, not paying as careful attention as I probably should to the angle of the razor. I mean, it is the first pass after all, if there's anything that remains, we'll get it on the next couple of passes. But you got to be careful with that, because if you do that, and if you apply just a tad too much pressure, you set yourself up for a little bit of razor irritation. So, just something to keep in mind, especially if you're using single-edged razors. They are designed and meant so that the head of the razor is flat against your skin to pretty much approximate the same angle that you would use with a straight razor, 25, 30 degrees, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things that I noticed myself doing. I was like, I was not paying that close of attention. Now, it was also curious that I was paying much more attention on the second and third pass to the angle. I don't know. Just something weird about the way that my brain works, I guess, first thing in the morning. So who knows? Maybe somebody else can benefit from just that awareness that you can cause yourself issues if you're not paying attention and cognizant and everything else. So anyhow, on to the shave of the day. Back to it. The lather was very, very nice. The thing that I noticed is that and I think I understand very well why people enjoy the larger brushes. The antler handle brush that I have is in fact a larger brush, and it just holds so much lather. Now, the other thing that was rather interesting is when I was lathering it up, this old brush of mine, when I shook out the water, it acted almost like a synthetic. Now, I know it's not synthetic, but it acted like one in that it really didn't retain hardly any water at all. So maybe it is a synthetic. I don't know. I'll have to look at it with a loop and see if I can tell the difference. See if there's any splitting or anything like that would be reminiscent. See if I can't find a fiber that's broken off to see what's in there. For some reason I am tired this morning, but there you go. Large brush, lots of lather. Swirling motions were good, but when you then go to the paintbrush motion with a brush, it's just, oh my gosh, it just slaps it on like plaster. Good stuff. Thick, luxurious, just nice leathers. Great face feel too after the when you rinse off just a little bit in between passes, and then for the final rinse, it's a very, very nice face feel. I do enjoy that about the Wickham soap. So didn't use an aftershave this morning, just kind of au naturel, if you will, which is I do it every now and then, just because. But that's the shave of the day, and there you go. Alrighty, well, it's been a busy weekend here at the Brush and Soap and Blade podcast household. So Saturday, I went ahead and did a head-to-head between Wickham's shaving soap and in the Spice Trade scent, and Old Spice, the Old Spice cream that I bought a long time ago from West Coast Shaving. It is the Shulton formula and smells like Old Spice. Well, is supposed to smell instead of the new stuff. So I lathered them both up. I used both of my Samog bore brushes, one the 830 and one the 1305. And from a lather point of view, they both lathered very, very nicely. At the end of the day, they were almost equivalent when it comes to lathering. Now, the thing that was interesting is that the Wickhams didn't lather quite as easily. Now, granted, it's not a cream. I understand that. But it didn't lather quite as easily as the Old Spice cream. The Old Spice cream just kind of blew up into the bowl. Now, the thing that was also interesting is that the cream, it foamed a lot at first, and then it settled down into a nice, beautiful lather, whereas the Wickhams didn't do that. So I did one side with the Old Spice and the other side with the Wickham, and I used, just because, here I am being nostalgic all week. I've been pulling brushes down off of the shelf that I haven't used in a while. I've been, just kind of trying stuff. And so I looked over, and there was my old case straight razor, my original straight razor, the first one that I ever had. Now, this thing, the old case straight razor, is thin. It's like I don't know if they call it a 5/8 or what, and the Gold Dollar and the other ones that I have are a lot wider. It was the first shave. I got to tell you, the thinness of the thing, it was a tad disconcerting. It was almost like it was looking to, I don't know, slice and dice my face. It was, the wider ones, they feel almost like an extension of my finger, whereas the thin one, because it was, so thin, it just didn't. And it was a little nerve-wracking, and that was something that I hadn't experienced before. I hadn't noticed that before. It was one of those things that kind of jumps out at you as you're using it, and kind of went, whoa, what? Where'd this come from? And so that was a rather unique experience, and so I thought I'd report on that. But I think, and I may be wrong here, but I think I prefer the wider straight razors, like a 7/8 or something like that. It was, like I said, it was just very disconcerting, very unusual, and rather unexpected. I did cut myself one time. Now, the other thing that I noticed is that the thinner blade, the case, it was much easier to get under my nose with that very thin blade. But it's still, I don't know. It was, it seemed easier. I know it's not easier. It just seemed so. But it was very much like I don't know, almost like a lightsaber kind of thing versus a normal cavalry saber, if you will. It's just, but anyhow, so both, we were originally talking about the lather. The lather for both soaps was exceptional. They both did an exceedingly nice job. Again, the Old Spice cream having just a slight advantage. Now, in scent profile, the Wickham's has a more subdued scent, almost a richer scent, whereas the Old Spice has a, I don't know, more in-your-face, slap-you-about-the-nose scent. It's got a sharpness to it, a peakiness. It's like as soon as it gets close to you, it's like, whoa, that's Old Spice. Whereas the Spice Trade was just, it was there, and it was pleasant, and it was much more subtle, I think. Still very strong, not as strong as the Old Spice, but still very present. Now, after the shave, I mean, both of them shaved very well, and quite honestly, from a performance standpoint, I really couldn't tell that much of a difference. Now, the place that I could tell the difference was in post-shave feel, when I was rinsing off. The Old Spice side felt, well, a little bit, I don't know, tighter might be a better word, whereas the Wickham side felt maybe a little bit more of a residual glide, more of a lubricated, more, just a little bit nicer. So there was that difference as well. But overall, both of them are great soaps, and one being a soap, one being a cream, and I would recommend either one of them. I mean, if you like Old Spice, you can't really go wrong. So there you have it, kind of a head-to-head, well, just because I could. It's one of those things when you have all the stuff to do a head-to-head, well, right there in your cabinet, why not? Go out and live some and learn a little bit and do something different. So the shave of the day today, being a lovely Sunday, I woke up late and kind of luxuriated around a little bit and just, generally enjoyed myself. And so the shave of the day was, again, kind of a luxurious lay around, easygoing shave. And I used the Wickham Spice Trade with my Plisson brush, which was, just cloud, soft. It's exquisite. I really, really enjoy that brush. A little annoyed at it because of the handle, but the knot itself, golly, I love that thing. Anyhow, so whipped up a lather there in the old salsa bowl, and of course it did a great job. Very, very thick, luxurious lather, like it always does. Wickham soap has never disappointed me. And I proceeded to give myself a straight razor shave once again using my Case straight razor. Just because it caught me a little bit off guard the other day, and it was like I said, disconcerting. And so I used my Case straight razor, which again is thin, and so it was much better today. It was almost like I had a little bit of familiarity with it, and that got me through and over the hump, if you will. Didn't have any issues, no scrapes, cuts, or anything like that. Did a very nice job. Tried as best I could to do my neck with that thing, and it seemed to do a very nice job. Now, the cheeks, of course, have never been a problem with any of my straight razors, really. It's always my neck, and so I'm trying different things and different techniques and, different methods to get my neck kind of cleaned up the way I want it to be. And today it worked very, very nicely. I was real happy with it. And so, good shave of the day. I did find out something, though, that was, well, troubling. It turns out that my wife, in addition to my son, does not necessarily like bay rum scents. She'd never said anything before. She always said, "Oh, wow, that's nice." But she never said she didn't like it, ever. Well, this weekend, that's what she told me. Imagine my shock, the horror. It's like, what do I do now? I just bought some, too. And it's one of those things. It's like every now and then they just catch you off guard. I don't know. It's just communication. It's the bane of existence. I'm telling you. Anyhow, that's kind of where it went this weekend. So all's good. I'm actually looking forward to this next week. Well, just because it gives me more opportunities, to shave. So today's shave of the day really wasn't that inspiring as far as a shave goes, but it did lead me to, an observation. I used the Wickham soap company's spice trade again, and this is a soft soap, and Wickham's are all soft soaps. And I don't know if it's because of the new container, because he did change the containers back when. I happen to have a couple of the original containers, Wickham's, that is actually interesting. One of the things that I offered way back when was if somebody wanted to advertise on the show, a vendor or an artisan that's just starting out, I have no problem doing that to help you write the copy, whatever, and read it for you if you want, or if you want to read it yourself, that's fine too. We'll put it on the show, and the deal that I made was, okay, we'll do that for free as long as it's on the show. If you want to use the recording or or anything anywhere else, then we'll get together and we'll work out a price. And Wickham Soap was actually my first paying client. And what was paid was 2 tubs of Wickham's soap from England. I still have the packaging. It was my first paid gig. So I do have two of the originals. One is the lavender, and can't remember what the other one is. But I've used those off and on, and I have never noticed what happened today with the spice trade. Now, the soap, the spice trade soap, is in fact very soft. And while I was loading the brush, what I noticed is that it created a nice indent in the middle of the soap, and the soap was actually coming up over the sides of the tub. And as I continued to load, it actually kind of spilled over the side and was trying to fall out of the off the rim of the tub completely. Well, I pushed it back in and everything else, but I got to thinking, I don't know if it's a formulation change at some point or what happened, but I've never experienced that with the other Wickhams that I have. So it's almost like, okay, this is in between a soap and a cream. It's not between, like a soap and a puck. It's the other direction, It's softer than a soft soap even. It's, it moves around. It's, okay, mildly annoying, but at the same time, as long as you know what you're dealing with, you're fine. And the other thing that kind of caught me off guard is that what originally threw me into the idea of getting the spice trade was I had a small sample of spice trade, and I don't know if it just needs to air out. Now I have been letting this thing air out for a week easily, and it hadn't solidified any or gotten any firmer or anything like that. So I don't know at this point. But the sample of spice trade is very nice, packed in there and solid and not going anywhere and doesn't move around on you or anything. So this was a bit of an unexpected observation, and so I mean it's okay. Again, it's as long as you understand what's going on. And I understand the reason for the packaging, but it really would have been much nicer at some point if it had been in a tub and only filled like halfway. That way, as it moved around, it would kind of fall back in on itself instead of trying to fall out of the tub. But be that as it may, the The Spice Trade lather, of course, was just wonderful. And the smell, that classic old spicy smell, which is just, fabulous. So all in all, good stuff. It's, great thing. And, yeah, good stuff. A beautiful spring day here in the upstate of South Carolina. Been raining for a while. Things are damp, but very green and very nice. To a certain extent, that part reminds me when I lived in Seattle. It rained all the time, but everything was so just gloriously green. It's curiosity. You don't want wet weather, but at the same time, you enjoy the greenery. Anyhow, today's shave of the day. It was actually a combination, really, of a shave of the night, and a shave of the day. Because last night I came home and decided, hey, I've got some stuff that I need to do, but I've got a little bit of time here. Let's go ahead and get a shave real quick. And so I did with the Wickham Super Smooth Spice Trade, my Plisson brush, and my Gem Damascene single-edged razor. And beautiful razor, very nice handle. It's got a round knurled handle that has an exceedingly thin neck, and it feels good in the hand. It really does. And the top cap on it, the part that covers the blade, has a bit of a bow to it, and that's what sets the Damascene apart from some of the other Gem single-edged razors. Is that later on, I guess in an effort to make manufacturing easier or something, the Gem top cap was flat, as was the rest of the American standard razors. So that would be Gem and Star and Everready. They all had flat top caps instead of a nice, slightly domed top cap. So, lovely, lovely shave. Of course, the Wickham performed marvelously, as it does. Now, I'm still having great difficulties because the soap is not drying out, and it's not getting any less. I don't know if soupy is the right word, because it's really not. It's more like an exceedingly thick stew. And I've got some members of a high school band that listen every now and then to the podcast. And we have an ongoing joke between soup and stew, so they would appreciate the inside joke there. Anyhow, it's with the slightest touch of the brush, the soap moves. I mean, not the whole puck. I mean, parts of it just move around. It's I don't know. It's starting to get annoying, to be quite honest. Luckily, this is probably the last shave I'll do with it in quite a while, and we'll see what happens in a couple of months after it's aged just a touch. But right now, yeah, it's kind of like a thick stew consistency. You put your spoon in, and you just touch it, and the stuff moves. Anyhow. So the shave was excellent. The stainless Gem blade in the Gem Damascene is doing a marvelous job. A little bit different, I really do enjoy the carbon steel POW blades that I have and that I get. They just, I don't know, they seem to do just an exceptional job. Now, granted, the stainless blade is no slouch, but to me, it almost seems like there's a difference in fineness, if you will. It's like for me, and again, this is just like everything else in shaving. It is so subjective. But for me, it seems like the carbon steel blades just are a touch smoother, a touch sharper, and give just a touch better shave. Either that or else it's just personal preference. But it is an exceedingly, subjective topic for everything. Soaps, brushes, razors, whatever. So if anybody tells you need this, And oh, you're not going to like this combination, but this combination, this is the one. Um, yeah, take it with a grain of salt, because that individual may have an absolute perfect combination from them or for them, and it may not work worth a darn for you. So it's just something to keep in mind, because it is all about personal preferences, personal choices, and everybody has again, exceedingly subjective. Everybody likes different things, so that's a good thing. So anyhow, I shaved last night, and so I woke up this morning and I'm like, well, I usually shave in the morning. I wouldn't mind shaving this morning. I have the time, so really it was more of a touch-up. And so that's what I did. Again, with the Damascene, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. And finished it off with some Jaloux aftershave, some of the white lily. It's springtime. It just feels like springtime, So thought I'd share the love, as it were, or the scents, the aromas of spring. And so looking forward to a day of smelling the lilies all day long, which is, well, just kind of enjoyable, actually. So, all good stuff this morning. So, where have I come in wet shaving? What have I learned in the past, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years or so? First off, has it been worth it? Okay. I started out way back when as a person who shaved in the shower with a Bic two-bladed disposable Good News razor. And those things, unbeknownst to Bic, and probably to their chagrin, I use those razors for exceeding lengths of time. It's just, I would have a razor in there for 2, 3, 4 months before I'd finally say, yeah, it's about time to maybe change this one out and start again. So for me, wet shaving was not about the expense, because quite honestly, I was using hand soap as a to lubricate things. I was shaving in the shower. I was using a Good News that cost me a couple of dollars, and I would use them forever. So I had just almost no expense when it came to wet shaving. So for me, it was a little bit different. I didn't buy into the newfangled cartridge razors, multiple blades. Okay, yeah, it's nice. It's an interesting idea. They just never really seemed to work for me. And to this day, even when I, from time to time, go back to them, they still don't, perform the way that, well, at least the marketing makes them seem like they are supposed to perform. It just doesn't work well. So I started wet shaving. I had a Track 2, which is another two-bladed cartridge type razor that came in a set, a handle, and it came with a brush and a bowl and a soap, and I had used those from time to time, but it was just, I don't know, it took some time and everything, and I came into wet shaving because I went to an antique store and I saw an old Gillette double-edged razor, and there it was, and it was really good price, and it was in really good shape, so I went ahead and bought it, and that was back when you could get things for like nothing. I think I paid, I don't know, $5 or $8 for it. It wasn't very expensive at all, but it was just about in immaculate shape. It really was. And went and got some Wilkinson blades for it over at the Walmart, and proceeded to, well, shave with it. What I found out was this. First off, the Wilkinson's blades didn't really agree with me, I came to find out later, but it gave a much better shave than, well, all but a brand new disposable. And it gave me that better shave over the course of a week, whereas the disposable would only give me that quality of shave maybe one time, maybe 2 times. The other thing that was interesting is that the disposable, in order to get that kind of a shave, I had to use a lot of pressure, and the propensity for nicks and cuts was relatively high. Whereas the double-edged blade, the double-edged razor, I did not have to apply the same amount of pressure. In fact, very little pressure at all, and that aided greatly in the elimination of nicks and cuts and irritation and such. So, all in all, quite honestly, I just got a better shave. So then from there, I kind of got on a, well, they call it RAD, razor acquisition disorder. And I started, just looking around for different Gillette razors. And I found myself with super speeds and red tips and blue tips and the flare tips and fat boys and slim adjustables. And, it's just, I ran the gamut. And they all performed very, very nicely. Now, around that same time, I also discovered, and I believe they're still out there, triablade.com, and I would purchase, packs of assorted razor blades just to try out. And I came to the conclusion that for me, and it happened over time, there are some good blades, and there are some mediocre blades, and there are some just, well, for me anyhow, horrible blades. And so I found the blades that worked for me and worked very well, and purchased those. And between the acquisition of the razors and the determination that, hey, these blades work really well, I was in pretty good shape. And then, of course, I discovered the soaps. Now, I started out way back when with some samples from Queen Charlotte soap. And one of my favorite soaps of all time, just because of the scent profile, is Basilica. And I have searched on, not diligently, but I have searched here and there from time to time on getting a scent profile that was similar, kind of a, churchy, frankincense and myrrh, incense type scent in a soap. And Basilica has that, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But I started out with Queen Charlotte soaps, and then I moved on to other samples. And in fact, at one time there was a guy that was performing a very nice service, which was the Wet Shaving Sample Shop, which is no longer around, unfortunately. But if anybody gets the idea, that might not be a bad thing to do, just for newcomers to attempt to try things out. But he sold samples of soaps and lotions and balms and aftershaves, and it was a very nice thing, because you could try something and you could determine, well, does it work for me? Is the scent am I irritated by it? And you could do that without spending, $15, $20, $25 on a tub of soap. Because the last thing you want to do is spend that kind of money, just turn around and find out, hey, this stuff irritates the snot out of my skin and I can't use it. Now, that was kind of before the buy, sell, and trade forums and things. It's just they were active, but they weren't like real active. It was, they've always been there. So that was kind of that was kind of my introduction into soaps. And then I started getting into brushes, and quite honestly, the best brush purchase that I got, in fact, the two best brush purchases for me that I ever made were my Semogs, my Semog 830 and my Semog 1305. Excellent brushes. The only difference between the two is a handle. One has an acrylic handle, and the other one has a painted wood handle. And I prefer the 1305. But what I started discovering is that I enjoyed the variety of different types, anyhow, of brushes. Now, I have not gone overboard in brushes. In a year and a half, I think I have like 5 or 6. Okay, and none of them are terribly, terribly expensive. So, if you're thinking, oh, I got to go out and buy a $200 brush, okay, you will probably enjoy that $200 brush, but you can get very excellent performance and not spend, but maybe a tenth of that. My Semogs, for example, once broken in, they are fabulous brushes, and the price point's about $25. So great value. Now, the other thing that I purchased is I purchased a little full fix Badger brush, and in fact, that was on a buy sell trade forum. I can't remember what I paid for it. I think it was around $30 or $40, something like that. But beautiful, excellent little brush. Oh my gosh, it was just that was at the time the absolute best Badger brush that I had. It's a beautiful little brush. I really thoroughly enjoy it. So I started, learning about brushes and getting into the brushes and things like that. And, then I went for, the so-called brush of the gods, which for me at this point is, well, maybe not a fallen angel, but at least one with its wings singed. The finish on it chipped off the other day, which just annoyed me greatly. But anyhow, the Plisson brush, the knot, the synthetic knot, and from what I understand, a lot of the synthetic knots are of exceptional quality these days. But the softness of that brush was just absolutely fabulous. So, with all this said, I've gotten into single-edged razors, I've gotten into straight razors, I've kind of run the gamut. I've gone back a few times, back to cartridge razors. I even tried foam and gel a couple of times just to see, okay, is it really, is it hoopla that, is the wet shaving thing a marketing ploy? Or is it really better? And for me, it really is. It's really better. The soaps leave my skin feeling much better. I don't feel as dried out. The goo in a can or gel in a can, whichever one you prefer, either the foam or the gel, it leaves my skin dry. Now, and the thing is that I have relatively oily skin to begin with, so I can't imagine what it would do with somebody with normal skin, or dry skin for that matter. But to me, okay, I've always been one of these people that kind of look at things with, well, just an eye of, well, do I believe it or not? And so in the past year and a half or so, what I have discovered is, first off, wet shaving does in fact give me a better shave. It does take a little bit more time, but nowhere near as much, more time, if you will, than what I had originally feared. And in fact, when I first started out, it took more time, but as time went on, I learned and I got better at it. And probably the biggest thing that helped is learning how to create and develop a good lather. Because if you understand what's going on in the lather bowl and understand your components, that's one thing that can save you a lot of time. Instead of standing there for 5 minutes trying to figure out how to get a decent lather, you can do it in about 30 seconds. And so, once you get to that point, then quite honestly, it's not something that takes a whole lot more time. Now, as far as money savings, if you go out and buy a razor and buy a type of blade and say, yep, this is what I'm going to stick with, and get one soap, maybe two, and stick with that, and get one brush and stick with that, and, you could buy all of the stuff you need for the equivalent of a month's worth of cartridge razors, or come pretty close to that. At the bottom end, or of course, you could spend, a whole year's worth of shaving cost and do it in one fell swoop. But that if you did it right, you could probably last a year with those supplies. It's something that can save money. But the other thing, and I think the thing that has grown on me more than anything else, is that it becomes an enjoyable exercise. It's something that I now do to kind of, I don't know, give me a pause at some point in the day, whether that's in the morning or in the afternoon. Give me a pause just to stop and concentrate on something, well, completely different, that being shaving, and kind of calm down and chill out and come to the realization that, it is just life, and sometimes life hands you all kinds of stuff. And to, I don't know, get ready, if you will, to face the next challenge, the next endeavor, the next, well, whatever life happens to hand to you. And so that's really the thing for me that I have grown to enjoy about wet shaving. It's I don't know, a Zen moment, almost like, a meditative thing that goes on with me. And to me, that's the secret, because I have been able to utilize that for all kinds of things. And I've been able to, I don't know, shift and recognize that that's what I enjoy and that's what I get a lot out of. And so to be able to then shift that into other things that I do, making coffee, using a fountain pen, things like that, just little acts of engagement in life, and not taking the marketing and the the things. I was listening to a commercial the other day where saying, you don't have time for this and you don't have time for that. And it dawned on me that, it really didn't dawn on me. It actually jumped out to the forefront of my mind. Well, that's baloney. You have plenty of time. Just depends on how you divvy it up. You have all the time, well, in the world. You have 24 hours a day. You can divvy it up how you see fit. Yeah, that may mean that, you can't sit on your butt and watch your television program. Or programs. You can't play video games or whatever, but I'm willing to choose and decide where I spend my money or spend my time. So I don't know. It's given me more than a good shave. To a certain extent, it's giving me a bit of grounding, which has really helped. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that go on in life, and a lot of I don't know, challenges, mental challenges, and things, and it's giving me something to, I don't know, hang my hat on, and that has been very welcome, because sometimes when you're wandering around out in the cold, it's nice to have a place to, well, come home to. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.